Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, the space for entrepreneurs on a quest for unwavering certainty and purpose. I'm your host, Lauren, and each episode is a compass guiding you through authentic conversations, unraveling the mysteries of your human design chart, and offering tools from the remarkable guest. Join me as we embark on a journey to manifest greatness and create a life aligned with our deepest purpose. This is the space where misfits find their enlightenment. Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have an amazing guest here. I'm super excited for this conversation, actually. This is Jordan. She is the creator of Violet Imagery and Healing. Welcome, Jordan. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hello, you beautiful misfits.
So we're going to talk all about astrology, shadow work, tarot card readings, and anything in between spiritual. So Jordan, can you share your journey into the world of tarot card readings, astrology, and creative journaling from shadow work, and what inspired you to start Violet Imagery?
Of course. So I actually got my first tarot deck when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Apparently, I asked my mom for it, and she was like, I think I have the weirdest child ever. What 7-year-old asked for a tarot deck? But she got it for me. So I kind of started, it was really the imagery that pulled me into tarot because I'm an artist. So I've been an artist since a very young age. And that really just like they spoke to me. The images just really resonated with my soul. So I didn't really pursue a lot of like learning tarot in depth until I was a little bit into my teenage years, and when the whole astrology fad started coming back into the 2000s, and I started learning astrology, and I got the Thoth tarot deck from Aleister Crowley, which very heavily associates astrology. So finally, like I had tarot decks for so long, but they all finally just clicked in my brain when I associated the astrology to them. So that was a very long, beautiful journey. And I started Violet Imagery, oh, wow, almost probably like 6 or 7 years ago now. And it was really at first just to put a lot of my art out there because I hadn't yet created my own decks with all of my own artwork. So it was really just the name that I used to go to events and bars and, put myself out there in a way. But 5 years ago, I actually created my own deck. And that was like the most spiritually awakening process that I've ever been through in my whole life. And since then, I've created 4 more decks, each with its own purpose and its own energy. And 2 years ago, I became a hypnotherapist, which is where all of the creative journaling and drawing prompts kind of came into play because I never had any workbooks for my decks. And once I learned those techniques and learned how to like really reconnect with my subconscious and that higher self space, all that stuff just started just splurging out of my body. And it again, like that was just the most beautiful, the last probably 5 years of my life when I started making decks and doing hypnotherapy. That's really when I truly feel like I tuned in and tapped into who I am and my purpose and my abilities. And now I'm just like so excited to share them with the entire world as much as possible.
I love that. So I was going to say, there's a couple of things I wanted to say when you were saying this. I was thinking, oh my goodness. So she is an art, because I literally was, the next question I was going to ask is, oh, do you make your own tarot decks? And you literally just said that. So I'm going to make sure that your links for all of your services. So when people are listening to this, they will 100% be able to go. Cause I know I'm going to order one because I'm obsessed with tarot, like obsessed. And I used it as a stepping stone. I don't know if this could resonate with somebody listening, but I use it as a stepping stone to stop going into codependent relationships. I decided to just focus on, because my drug of choice, which not trying to trigger anybody if they're listening to this, but I always say my drug of choice was relationships. It was not a drug,
Mhm.
but it was the same thing that happened to that in that relationship is the same thing that happened to my body if I were to take a drug every day, right? So I
Right.
stopped doing that, and I was like, let me try something else. Like, let me actually go. But and my boyfriend always says to me now, he's like, I was like, one thing, he's like, you're just an Aquarius and you collect everything. And I was like, no, I actually, there's a purpose behind it. But then I was like, maybe I do collect tarot cards. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I understand that I'm an Aquarius, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to collect things.
I just cleared out because I have like multiple drawers of tarot decks, and I just
Yeah.
cleaned them all out, got them all organized, and I was like, you know what? I have more space than I thought I did. I could probably get some more.
That is so funny. So with you started out like with the like tarot and then the astrology. Now, how did this kind of contribute to like healing or like personal growth with yourself and then also with your clients?
So the tarot, when I really actually just finally started, listening and stopped blocking the messages, because that was my big thing. I was like, oh, that's accurate, but I'm not going to actually do anything about it. um, so those continued patterns like really just kept coming up. And then when I learned astrology, I was literally like the first time I like started decoding my chart and reading what everything meant online, I was just like sobbing because I was just like, wow, like I finally understand like why I'm doing the things that I'm doing and perpetuating what I'm perpetuating. So, and then being able to really like relay that same understanding and those same feelings to another person. Like when somebody looks at me and they're just like, you just like blew my mind, with the information you gave, with how I felt when I sat down to how I feel now, and just seeing somebody's heart like truly like open during a reading and a healing session to where like I know that the point got across. Like I know that everything that I've been through has helped me help another person. And I think that is why I will never stop my healing journey, because the more that I heal, the more powerful that I become in being able to help other people.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Before we, and I'm going to share a little bit about, because I actually have not shared this publicly, maybe on my social media, but before we started recording, I was kind of telling you about how my heart had opened. And I was very scared to talk about it. Now that I'm now on this podcast, I'm going to talk about it because I feel like I'm safer now to talk about it in like a safe space. But, a lot of us, probably you included, feel like if we're vulnerable and we're, it's social media, but I look at it kind of differently. It's like I am very authentic and real. So it's like I'm going to speak kind of, and I just have a very deep feeling that you are as well. Like you're going to kind of share a little bit about your journey or, kind of make them feel like you're not alone kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Oh yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah. So, I help people every single day do this. I do a lot of energy work, right? I sometimes do readings, like I human design, that's my main system, but I have other tools that I can use, and I realize that the universe put me in a corner by myself because I was not listening. And I've been on my spiritual journey probably now for really being on it, like listening, probably I want to say it's been 8 years, but probably I started listening after 5, probably, right? So
Mhm.
I was kind of very similar experience. I kind of did it like closet, kind of like did it just I never really would have told anybody. And then I realized it was such transformative for me that people couldn't help but notice, like, what's wrong with you? You're different, blah, 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 like all this stuff, right? So if you're listening and you have the same experience, because I don't really know why I'm saying this, but I feel like somebody needs to hear this today. So um I it was a retreat. It was a couple weeks ago. Now that when this recording comes out, it's going to be like 10, 15 or 10, 12 weeks. But um I never let anybody close to me ever in my entire life. I gave love out, compassion. I loved people deeply. I seen them deeply. I would help them every day, but I never let anybody close to me. Not even myself. I would never let my close. I've done, deep like healing and stuff. So when you said I love to experience that heart opening, I feel like that hit deep because wherever I was at that retreat, I thought I had a different purpose, right? My purpose was there to go hold space for women. This is what I do every single day. And I forgot to hold space for myself. Like I felt like my whole life. Sometimes I probably would gaslight myself pretty much to think that I was doing it, but I really wasn't. And then I would project it outwards that, you know, um, oh, they're gaslighting me. They're the ones. I would blame it on everybody else or self-criticize or criticize others or judge others. And I realized at that moment in that shift when I finally opened up to my own inner child that it was a thought that just came in and it was like, you never opened up your heart. And I was like, I don't know if that was my inner child. I don't know if it was spirit. I don't know if it was just like me. I don't know what happened. But then ever since that moment, like you said, it was very transformative. And
Yeah.
I say that this is very vulnerable because people are going to take that from their perspective of, but she's done this so long. Why all of a sudden does it happen now? Right. It's like
Right.
there's deep layers. And if it's kind of like, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you don't know. And it's just like that message obviously wasn't for you. So when you said that, I was like, okay, I think it's in my time to kind of share my little
Yeah.
part that I put on social media that I will share when I'm ready. But, now here it is. So thank you for you holding space. Here I am trying to I'm interviewing you and holding space, and it's like, I think I need to say this now.
Yeah, of course. And I think so many people need to hear it. And the thing that I kind of hear is like, you know, don't don't keep yourself in the closet through your entire journey. Like
Yes,
people need to experience who you are and what you have to offer. And, we are so much more than just holding space.
right.
We all have gifts, we all have abilities, we all have this innate divine power within us. And that's what the world needs right now. It's time to get
Yes,
out of the comfort zone, get out of the closet, get out of your safe space,
yeah,
and really start pushing yourself and other people to get to that next level because, like, you
right.
know, we're there.
Oh yeah. I definitely feel it. Yep. It was kind of like it's either you're going to stay in this timeline, you're going to stay here, or you're going to go here. And it's like, not me. I'm going here. You know what I mean? Like, but it was like that push that I needed. Um,
Mhm.
and it was through and I always resisted, and I want you to kind of talk about your like I want to kind of like transition to like how your creative journaling ties into the shadow work, but I always resisted, and I know so many people that I talk to on a daily basis resist shadow work until I realized that was the question I asked. I wonder why people resist shadow work. And then I realized society makes it seem like your shadow is bad. I mean, that's a condition that I know for me that I grew up with. Your shadow is bad, you need to be scared of it. And I just questioned one day, but what if my shadow has wisdom to tell me? Like, what if,
Yeah.
I probably didn't use those words, but I probably used words of like, what if it can actually help me because nothing I'm doing is helping. So I would love to hear your explanation on how your creative journaling ties into this and why you feel it is an effective tool for self-discovery and
Yeah.
healing.
This is honestly, shadow work has become like my favorite thing in the whole wide world because it is just like so deep. And I think, besides, like, I totally agree with the conditioning of just like the shadow self is bad, just keep shoving it down. But I think there's also such a huge part where, because we've had that conditioning, people have no idea how to actually speak to themselves, ask themselves questions, and actually listen to the answers that they're given. And I think the tools and the techniques that I see for shadow work, really help reconnect people to that, not just intuitive side, but that subconscious side. People don't realize, yeah, your consciousness has your awareness of reality, but your subconscious is like 80% of your entire existence. So you have to look, that's where all of the rewiring, the healing, the manifesting energy, when you consciously say, this is what I want to attract. Okay, cool. That's like 20% of your energy. But that subconscious is like, no, I have this wound, I have this trauma, I have this blockage. And so you're still projecting 80% of what you don't want.
Right.
So I think the shadow work truly helps reconnect those two parts of yourself. And you could consider it like, the higher, middle, lower, like, whatever, past, present, future, whatever you want to feel it as. But, and then the other thing that I absolutely adore about it, which I do use in all of my workbooks. So all of my workbooks have creative journaling and drawing prompts. So
Oh,
basically, and I love how I turned to the collective page. So the collective conscious now, y'all. But
you need
I
it. Yeah.
only give a little tidbit of information. I'm not going page after page after page about what I think,
Right.
but instead I do the creative journaling and drawing prompts so that you can not only understand yourself, but also understand yourself within the card, the astrology, the shadow work, whatever you're trying to learn, you're finding those correlations from your own experience, which I think helps teach you to understand it 10 times better than just trying to read a book, that's just about that thing and not yourself.
Yeah. I absolutely love that you have done this because the other side of tarot is reading, like, I remember that I'm like, well, this card said this. And it's like, but I don't feel that. And it's like, same thing with when you go on YouTube and look up tarot, like listen to tarot. Like I used to do that too. It's like, oh, she said this. This is what's going to happen. Oh my God. And it would give me so much anxiety. And then I was like, wait a second. I used to use tarot, to help trust myself and like open up my intuition and know what I know is true because I just know,
Right.
and it's when people talk about, oh, I don't like astrology or I don't like tarot, it's the devil's work, whatever. I mean, that is just like, that's most just being very close minded. But I'm like, but how about if it's not? How about if you do like, and I love that. And if you're listening to this and you think, Lauren, you're crazy, which you probably think I'm crazy, but but you should go get this book because I feel like, or her deck, because I mean, I know I am. So because when I do tarot card readings for people, I just simply, you said the collective consciousness, I will only read, like I do a free tarot, like I do it in Telegram, a free tarot. I just read the collective consciousness. And one of the girls in there, which you probably listen to this podcast and she's going to know who she is, but I'm not going to call her out. She said, oh, you always seem to know what I'm going through. And I said, the reason why it seems to know I know what I'm going through is because I'm just reading the energy of the collective consciousness. I'm
Right.
not reading your energy. You're in this group. So sure, I probably am reading some of your energy, but my consciousness is also on the collective. I'm not any different than the collective. I am the collective too. So it's like I could be reading more of a message for myself, or maybe I'm like, this has no idea. I don't even know why I'm saying this. Like I told you
Yeah.
earlier, I don't even know why I'm saying this because I don't even know what this means, but it's because I'm supposed to speak it out to help other people. So simply, I love that you express that you have the journaling prompts and you have the creative like drawing because eventually one day it's going to click that you can just trust yourself. It's the same reason why I love human design because I finally, my whole life up until 34 years old, 5 years old, I feel like up until like recently, I never could trust my decisions. I never could trust myself. I always took myself out of my body when I was unsafe. I always took myself back to a place of like, oh God, here we go again, that type of thing. So I love that you created this product because it's, I'm sure you know this already, but it's could be very transformative for so many people.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think I really love teaching things in the aspect of like, one, it's not that hard. I think astrology and tarot and shadow work and all of these metaphysical understandings and practices have been made to be like so daunting and difficult and complex. And it's like, but if you can break everything down to the very core of its energy, like I always tell people, I look at astrology like just a math problem. So like, okay, you have Aries plus the sun plus the fifth house. I use two or three words to describe each of those things, and
Yeah.
then you kind of just get the core energy. And I think once
Right.
you understand the base, you can understand the basics,
Oh, I love
and
that. Yes.
that's how
Yeah.
you go from there. Yeah.
Now, do you teach any classes on astrology? Like if somebody, I know, I'm not going to call myself an astrology guru. I feel like you could probably call yourself that because, just by you saying the base as equals the basics, do you teach classes on this? If somebody were to be like, okay, so like I do now want to go into astrology, but I don't know where to start. Like
Right.
what would you recommend them to do and not go onto Google, obviously, because
Right.
that is going to get you
So,
down this rabbit hole of like you're
yeah.
just completely confused.
Right. So I will say by the time this comes out, I'm currently working on it right now. I should
Oh,
have
okay.
all three of my courses on my website,
Okay.
and will be the very first level because I'm working towards building courses that can lead to certification because I've been doing all of these things for over a decade. I think so,
Yeah.
especially tarot. I've been doing tarot for over 20 years, so I think I can consider
Oh, yeah.
myself certifiable for it.
Yeah.
But they should, all three of those classes on tarot, astrology, and shadow work should be on my website, www.violetimagery.com. And along with all my decks and services and everything like that. But yes, so they should be up. And also one of my big products that I have, that took a very long time to work up. It's actually an oracle deck and a workbook. And when you get them together, so the deck has the planets, the signs, and the houses, and it gives, so they're very flashcardy. They're not like super
Okay.
artistic. They're very flashcard. um but and then you have the workbook, so it teaches you how to look up your birth chart, how to understand, wow, my sun sign, which is what everybody knows,
Right.
that's in air, but I've never felt like a Libra. And then you look up your chart and realize, oh, it's because I have like six other planets in Capricorn. Maybe that's why I feel more like a Capricorn. And it
Oh,
really starts
wow.
helping little itty slice by little itty bitty slice, understand your chart on your own. You do not need the website. You don't need online. You don't need anything. And also, of course, it has the creative journaling and drawing prompts because that's just the best way to go about things. But so yes, all of those classes I do teach, but I'm working on having a course system so that I don't have to like physically be teaching the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
workshops. So like sometimes when I go to events and different things like that, I'll run a workshop about one of those specific things. And I love it because I love to teach, but I think I'm trying to get it to where it's more of like a mass.
Like an
Um,
evergreen content, kind of like anybody
right.
can. It could be 2 a.m. and somebody wants to learn astrology. You're sleeping, but they could go buy it.
Exactly.
I was going to say that is the best marketing strategy ever.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I just talking about astrology, I just was like, I wanted to know my marketing strategy and I just came across it on TikTok and it was like, go look at this house and this is what, and if it's in this like sign, this is how, and I'm like, no wonder I love a live launch, but I turn it right into evergreen because I can't
Mhm.
stand to do like a whole month of, it's not that I can't stand it, but I don't have the energy to do it.
Oh,
And I can
yeah.
launch it and then I turn it into evergreen. But it's
Hmm.
like and then I'll just like, and it's there forever. So
Yeah.
actually made sense once and then I was like, I wonder if anybody else would want to know this. And it's like, there's so many other people that are like, Lauren, that actually makes sense. Or if they were doing evergreen content and nobody was buying it, I was like, okay, because that's not actually how you're designed. Like
Right.
it's just you're wasting your energy, because that's all it's about, right? It's just about how we can use our our energy more efficiently and
Right.
stop wasting time, because time's an illusion, but still in the 3D we need time.
Yeah.
So you said that you earlier you said that you do hypnosis. Now,
Mhm.
can you kind of tell the audience or the listeners how these doing hypnosis and your offering your other services can be unique, benefits to providing like personal development or healing?
Yeah. So, how I work my healing sessions is for the first half of the service, we will kind of, do a little digging into the possible roots, the causes, and the issues that you want to either release or empower, because it can go either way. And then the other half is when basically I view hypnosis as getting you into a softened trance like state to where I'm no longer talking to the conscious mind. I'm speaking to the subconscious, which is that 80%, and where you do all that rewiring. So we're basically calming you down so you get out of your head, out of the ego, so that you can go down into that subconscious space and allow that healing process and allow those releases or empowerments to happen. And really, with the beginning, where you're kind of bringing a lot more consciousness to the issue, because a lot of people say, what do I want to heal? I don't know. Well, what's your experience? What's a
Right.
pattern that you no longer want to embody, or one that you want to embody more of? And it's kind of like the whole session is about kind of like getting you into that mind space of like, one, I'm more than I ever allow myself to believe I am.
Right.
And I'm also not what I have allowed myself to believe I am for too long. And then really just solidifying that in a very, I think of hypnosis as like a personalized guided meditation, because I'm going to be using the words and the experiences and everything that we talk about in the first half. And I'm going to say it back to you while you're in that trance state. So that subconscious is like, wow, I feel so heard and loved and appreciated. And, it allows that heart to heal.
Yeah. I love that, how you explain that. So I just have a question for myself, because I am a theta Reiki master and I do a lot of like meditations and healing in that. And it's more like when I kind of like Akashic records and past lives and all that stuff to and when I explain it to my clients, it's kind of like that theta, like right before you go to sleep. Is that kind of like what you're explaining
Yeah.
to? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess it's another title I can call myself, I guess, too, because that's how I've always learned it. And that's how I've always done it for myself, like through my own healing. And then
Mm.
I just became, like 2 years ago, I just became like, I was a Reiki master. And then I was like, I don't really do Reiki like everybody else, like the way that I was like taught. Right. And I'm like, I don't feel like I need to. I don't feel like it needs to be done a certain way. Some people do, some people don't. As long as
Right.
I'm not abusing the power of that. I mean, that was obviously a past life thing that I do know I abused power in the past life, that I used for this lifetime that I know not to do. It's like
Right.
something that I never even think to do. Right. So it's too like doing all that work. I feel like you could use that wisdom from the guidance to, master this lifetime. You know,
Right.
a lot of time I feel like a lot of us consciously that are on this path, it's our
Mhm.
last reincarnation here. I know for
Yeah.
me, I
Oh,
know I'm like, I'm not coming back to earth.
yeah.
I'm like, I tell everybody, this is no, no, no. I know this is but I also, spirit has told me that it's my last reincarnation and I better not mess it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like consciously everybody that's on this path like that, or healers, mentors, have business owners, they're doing something with their gifts are
Yes.
also in their last lifetime, like
Mhm.
incarnation care. So I'm
Because
like,
we're trying to bring everybody who still has a couple lifetimes left up
right.
into a better area so that they don't have
Yes.
to sit in their own gunk.
Right.
And I really love using hypnotherapy in that aspect as well
Yeah.
of the past life. And also, you can go to future lives as well, because I kind of believe that it's all happening at once,
Yes.
just in
Yeah.
different awarenesses.
Yeah.
Um, but you can use it to, so like I personally, did a hypnosis on myself where I went back to, I was persecuted multiple different lifetimes for being a practitioner and being somebody who was connected to magic. So when I stepped into this life and the universe was like, it's okay to be this now,
Yeah.
my whole system was like, no. They're gonna hurt me because I am this. And
Yeah.
it's like, going through that healing process was probably the biggest thing that helped me start my business and start my practice more externally.
Yeah.
Um, so but yeah, you can use it to go back into different life. So it's like say you have the bad relationship pattern, you're attracting a very specific pattern and a theme. And whenever you have something that doesn't correlate to this life, where you're like, wait, I never had that experience that would logically say this is why you keep doing it, that is a key pointer that it's from a past life. Like right there, like people who are afraid of dogs, but they've never been bit by a dog. That's a
Yes.
key factor to that you've had issues in another life. And I think like it just, all of the things that I've learned just keep going deeper and deeper into this self understanding and healing process. And I think that at the core, like that's why I keep going. Like I'm ready to learn more because
Yeah.
I know it'll just be another layer of understanding myself and then being able to help other people understand themselves.
Yes. Yeah. I just recently started sharing this publicly, but I've had multiple near death experiences, self inflicted. So I'm going to just say it that way. But I realized that, and I've always had like, why do I feel this way? And it always came back up to, I'm scared. I was never scared of water, but there is some people that are scared of water. And then I'm like, but did you ever drown? And then I realized I used to be scared of water when I was a kid. And I realized going back to that, that experience, I realized that I was drowned or I was beheaded. Same thing, very similar. I was a shaman in the past life. I did a lot of, I feel like every lifetime I was some type of leader or, I would abuse my power. And it's like, I know this lifetime I needed to learn empathy. I needed to figure out how I can have empathy or empathize for other people, which I always thought I did, but it was more of like, no, how can you stop saying something, like let it go, and then maybe put yourself in somebody else's shoes and look at it from their perspective. And it was like, oh, I need to actually elevate my consciousness. And that was kind of like when I started going through my spiritual awakening, because I was like, I don't understand. I feel like I'm this victim. Like people are calling me, because I have sexual trauma. I was a victim pretty much ever since I was like 6 years old, 5 years old, from a family member. So it was like I was always a victim. And then it's like, you're a victim. Like it was like constantly repeated to me. And I was like, but I'm not. I actually had something I needed to learn from that. So it helps me. And I know people listening to this, you're going to get into that victim mentality, but it's what you do to stop that negative loop of thinking. Cause like you said, 80%,
Yeah.
80% of your thoughts a day are negative. Only 20% are positive. But what do you do with those? Right. So I love that. So I could talk forever about this stuff. So I love it. So just wrapping up, what is like one key takeaway that you would like the listeners to hear from our conversation or advice?
Okay. We've talked about a lot of good stuff. I will say this. I think that healing is such a process. And I think the biggest thing is no matter how you find that healing or how you start that journey, one, don't ever stop. And two, allow yourself to transition when you need to. The same thing that you utilize for healing might not work when you get to that next level. And it's okay to seek and search and find something new, and new avenues to teach yourself and help yourself grow. And that's why, like, literally, my whole motto for my business is learn, grow, evolve. You learn about yourself, you grow through the process, and you evolve into a different version. But it's also very much like tarot. You start as the fool and you end at the world, but then that process just starts over again. And it's just that constant cycle of enlightenment. So
Yeah.
be yourself, and love other people, with boundaries, because that's what we truly all deserve as the people that we're in this world being. So I am so, so glad that you had me here today. And I really hope that I know that we'll connect again, because we even said, before we started, that there's some sort of kindredness happening here.
Yeah.
And if anybody else on here felt the same way, definitely feel free to check out all my social medias, Violet Imagery, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all those beautiful things. And then my website. And if you really, really vibrated and resonated with anything that I talked about, like I said, I teach the classes, and I have so many different. I have some free workbooks in case you want to just learn the journaling techniques that I talk about on my website. So, I am here as a lover, a teacher, and a guide, and I hope that, I can connect with many, many of you in the future. But yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure that everything that you just said, all of your links and everything will be on the YouTube if you're watching this in the video or the audio. I know some people like to watch the video. You could do both, but definitely it'll be in the description box and show notes.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for joining us on today's episode with Jordan on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave a review, and then maybe share this with somebody that you feel that will gain knowledge from listening. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you resonate with this conversation and found it insightful, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Your feedback fuels our mission. Remember, your journey to unwavering certainty and purpose is ongoing. Stay connected with us on social media, and let's continue this conversation. Let's manifest greatness in our lives. Until next time, this is Lauren from the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Stay enlightened, stay inspired, and keep manifesting your extraordinary path.